All right, over to you, Steve. We've had several conversations about bike safety here on Reset, and there's a family that is hoping that their lawsuit could contribute to that. The suit was filed by Tim Shambrook and Kate Snow. They're parents of a 3-year-old who was killed by a truck driver while they biked in Uptown last summer. So tell us what the lawsuit claims, Steve, and what are these parents hoping to accomplish?
The lawsuit was complaining that there was a ComEd truck parked in the bike lane that was impeding the progress of the bike. This was the mom with the 3-year-old on the back of the bike who had to veer around the ComEd truck, and then another truck that was driving on the road. She had to swerve to get away from. Her child fell off the seat and was killed. So what the suit is saying is that ComEd truck should not have been there. That this is a systemic problem in the city of Chicago with these bike lanes being impeded by trucks or whatever, parking in the bike lanes so that people can't bike safely in areas of the city that are supposed to be safe to bike in. So the suit is more about trying to address the problem and have something good come out of such a tragedy than it is about, at least as I read it, about money or anything like that. So,
right.
So it definitely raises the issue in terms of biking in Chicago, and is that safe? And as someone who does bike in Chicago, yeah, I mean.
So have you had to navigate between around a car in the bike lane?
Oh, sure. Or the delivery trucks are the scourge of whether you're driving in a car or whether you're on a bike. Delivery trucks in this day and age are the issue. Mm-hmm. Certainly, utility trucks are there as well, but.
Also hearing more about like a lot of those Uber Eats deliveries too,
right? Yeah. Look, it's a tough issue. It is a city. It's crowded. The streets were not built originally for this. So you're sort of trying to Band-Aid something on a system that wasn't meant to allow for that. But nonetheless, it could be made more safe. I think that's fair to say.
Carrie, Paris, has bike safety come up at all in the mayoral election?
Well, I mean, the city council has taken action or talked about action about raising fines for those like ComEd or delivery drivers that are parking in bike lanes, and whether that's going to make an impact or whether that's going to be enforced, I think is a question. I think the Shambrook family says this doesn't go far enough.
Right.
I mean, who's gonna adhere to this?
$250 for ComEd. That's chump change.
Jeez. They paid $2 million in the Madigan,
exactly,
correct? And that was chump change.
It's like
$200 million.
I'm sorry, $200 million.
Yeah. Price of doing business, But it is a huge issue. It's something we hear about. We hear from this is a really active cyclist community in Chicago, and we've been hearing about safer bike lanes for decades.
For a long time,
yeah.
And as long as if they're not protected, it's kind of hard. You are kind of just rolling the dice a little bit. If I also love to bike in the city, and yeah, you have to be extra aware, especially on certain streets, that are very heavily trafficked by cars. But then in an infrastructure sense, how do you on a street like that in Uptown? Where folks are parking, how do you make a protected bike lane and then have the parking spots and then have the street?
They have those on Milwaukee. It's confusing. Right. It's a little confusing. Yeah.
The north side is also. I live on the south side, and it's not as dense, so it's easier to navigate, and the bike lanes are better, I think, protected. Yeah. But north side is just so crowded that it's just a different ballgame.
Well, we'll hopefully hear more about what candidates have to say about this. The Safe Streets for All Coalition, they plan to host a forum centering on their stances on biking.
I will just add in, we did on WTTW a forum for the Secretary of State candidates, Alexia Giannoulias. They have a role to play too. Mm-hmm. He basically said, like, in the rules of the road, we can make bike safety, and sharing the road a bigger part of the driver test, and maybe that's something they'll do.
IDOT, Illinois Department of Transportation, they actually oversee a lot of streets and roadways in Chicago.
Yeah.